watching or listening to the Good Morning Gwinnett Show, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, bringing you your daily dose of business and technology to educate, empower, and inspire small business owners. Be sure to subscribe to the show today.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, all my Gwinnetians out there in Gwinnett Land and all of my friends around the world. It's a beautiful day here in Gwinnett County. I'm so excited to be here today. We just finished the Georgia AI Summit, and when I tell y'all I was busy, and I'm exhausted. And I've been, when you wear so many hats, it's a lot. It's a lot. But we did the Georgia AI Summit in Peachtree Corners. Shout out to Gwinnett County Economic Development for always being our support system. And also shout out to Atlanta Tech Park for partnering with us as well. I'm so grateful for that partnership with the two of them and for them to be able to support what we're doing here at Gwinnett Women's Chamber. So it's always good when you have people on your side, and they have been a support system for the Gwinnett Women's Chamber since we launched, and I'm so grateful and so grateful for that. So, but it went really well. So if you missed it, you missed a good thing. You missed a good thing, and we had some amazing speakers. We had um great food. We had great questions. We had people who had never really looked into AI the way they looked into it there. So that was exciting to see people who had never really done AI before. And they were trying to figure out, okay, how can I do this? How can I make this work for me? So it was really exciting. It was exciting. This is our second year doing this. But what's crazy is I said to myself, oh, I'm not doing that again. And the reason I say that, because I'm not an events person. And so whenever I got to do an event, it is a lot of work for me. And so I am like stressed out most of the time. And I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. And then after it's over and everything turns out really well, I'm like, okay, I'll do it again. But I don't know, AI is moving so fast, and AI is moving so fast, and there's so much content out there in the world. It's so much information, and it's so many people saying the same thing. We have to figure out next year exactly what it is we want to do, because right now it's a lot of people doing what we do. It's a lot of people that's out there talking about it, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, and I'm excited about that because I'm one person, Georgette is one person, and we can't do it all. So that's why, for me, I'm excited about what we're doing. And I'm excited about my guest today. My guest today, we're going to be talking about family leadership. And I think this is so turning pain into power, but also family leadership, because I feel like right now where we are, this is so important. And I had an epiphany. I think it was last Sunday, and it was pretty much about this same thing. Like, how do we start to stick together as a family unit so we can make things happen? So that's another reason I'm so excited about my guest today, because she specializes in what we're talking about. And so I want to get deep into it. I want to get deep into, like, what does it take for family leadership, because I feel like right now we need to build family businesses, right? We need to come together, and I'll tell y'all about my journey. We need to come together. We need to figure out how to really work together. We need to figure out how to have this family culture, just like they go into corporations and create culture. We need to start doing that on the business side. So that's why I'm excited about my guest. Today my guest is Dr. Shelley Jones-Holt. She's going to talk to us about family leadership, how to turn pain into power, what we need to be doing, the 5 pillars of that. Entrepreneurship, y'all know I love entrepreneurship. So till they put me in the box, I will be an entrepreneur. And I love inspiring people to do the same thing. So I'm gonna bring Shelley up, and we're gonna have a deep conversation, because we gotta change some things. And it all starts with us. So without further ado, Dr. Shelley Jones Hope, welcome to the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I get it. It's
No,
it's one of those days where after the week that we've had, it's like, oh yeah, okay, it's Friday. How did this happen? What did I do? And why do I feel the way I do?
right. And I'm excited about Friday. Like, I'm normally excited about Mondays because I try to take the weekends off, and I'm like, I can't wait to get back to work Mondays. I am super excited about Friday because I can't wait to take the weekend off and not even worry about Monday, which is so weird. But Dr. Shelley, tell us a little bit about who you are. Now, first of all, I want to say this, y'all. When people are in California and they come on my show, because it's like 7 o'clock, I am so grateful. I remember some years ago. I was around 2004, I think it was. I was on regular traditional radio, and Mark Victor Hansen was my guest three times, and he lived in California. And at that time, my guest came on. My show came on at 7:30 in the morning on Saturday mornings, and he did that show three times, which means it was 4:30 your time. And I was like, and I asked him, I said, why have you done this show three times? He sent me a box of books to give away. It was amazing. He said, because you never know who's listening and you never know who we could touch. And I was like, oh, and that was years ago. It's got to be 21, 22 years ago. I'll never forget that he had just wrote the book, The 1 Minute Millionaire, and that was an amazing book. And I'll never forget that. So thank you so much for getting up this early to come on the show and speak to all my friends in Gwinnett County and all of the people around the world who tune into the show. So tell us a little about who you are and what you do.
So I am by trade, I am an educator. My degrees are in educational leadership. And so I've served in several different roles in the school systems, including teacher, educator, principals, director, superintendent. I've done it all in the school system. And now I have refocused and kind of retooled what I know and have learned about leadership, because during COVID, everybody went home, and we realized that the leadership that we saw in the workplace, or some of the same challenges we saw in the workplace, they originated at home. And we saw all of a sudden now educators are now in the homes, the workplace is now at home, and we start to see that home doesn't have very much structure. Home didn't have very much focus to it. And so I had the I would say the pleasure and the to have the opportunity to really take a step back. God works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. And he put me in a position during the pandemic where our finances were taken care of. And I could just really sit back and look at my family leadership and how my family was handling not just things that were happening already in our lives, the everyday rigmarole, but now having everybody at home, having the teachers now in our space, forced us to look at our family leadership and our family structures in ways that we hadn't before. In addition to that, I had become an executive leadership coach for many CEOs, superintendents, friends calling me, going, hey, can I pick your brain for a minute? After all those, I was like, wait a minute, that's a business. Hold on. You can pick my brain, but you're going to pay me for it. Right. And so then I started to realize, oh my gosh, some of the same racialized and cultural challenges that that I'm helping you with as a leader, they originate in how you see the world, and how you see the world originated at home. And these same people I was supporting, and how they were shifting what was happening in their workplaces now that, work conditions had changed, were also having issues with their own children, because they started to see some of the ideologies that they did not want to pass on. And I got to say, there were several of my clients that were in Georgia that had some really real epiphanies post George Floyd, where they said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was raising an accidental racist, because we just don't talk about these things. I was raising an accidental homophobe because we don't talk about these things. And so it just opened up a space for family leadership to be something we could all focus on in a more strategic way. And that's how I ended up here now, really focusing on family leadership. And let me just say, as my kids are walking in behind me, it does not mean my family's perfect. I want to be very clear about that at the onset. Just because we talk about family doesn't mean I don't have my own family issues, doesn't mean I don't have the folks that don't talk to each other, folks that, get that person that you kind of regret or are a little trepidatious to see at the family cookout function. I mean, we have all of that, and we can lead anyway. So I'm so glad to be here to talk deeply about why it's so important, especially for our families in Gwinnett, to focus on home, because right now the outside is absolutely insane.
The outside is insane, and every day I try not to look at the news because it had become very depressing, and I try to fight off looking at it, but I do kind of glance at it, and I won't look at the news. I'm scrolling through YouTube, and I see stuff, and part of me, for those of you who don't know, I'm the president of the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce, and I sit back and I try to figure out, okay, what can we do as a community to make sure that we can create jobs and save businesses and save jobs, and because we don't know where we're going. And I had this epiphany. It was like, well, you got to start at home. which was like, it was like, okay, we need to get people to understand you have to start at home, just like you're saying, you have to start this at home. And then I was like, well, how do they start at home when they don't know? So in my mind, because of the way I think about things, I'm like, okay, we need to figure out a plan to help people start at home so they can secure the family's future, at least get them somewhere where they're grounded. So, I feel like what we're talking about right now is so timely because the world is going through a crazy shift. I'm talking about one that makes me feel like I really am in the Matrix. And I don't even remember what the Matrix was about. I just keep hearing people say, we're in the Matrix. It feels like that. It's so surreal to me. And I look around and ask my husband, is this real? So we originally started talking about, I named the show Turning Pain into Power. But when I looked at what was happening, I was like, we got to shift it. But before I shifted to family leadership, what is turning pain into power?
I think turning pain into power is something that, as people of African descent in this country, we have become masterful at. And we do it so
Mm,
unconsciously that we don't
yeah,
see how much of a struggle that is for other groups because it is baked in our DNA, especially as
yeah,
Black women. And
yeah.
and I'm not saying anything against our Black men. I'm married to a beautiful, wonderful, amazing Black man that I could not be on here on this show at 7 o'clock in the morning with all the kid stuff that's happening around me to get the kids ready without that amazing man. But I will say that as Black women, it's built into our DNA because, and it's one of the legacies of the enslavement of our people in this country, because we literally had a choice of either falling apart or figuring out ways to turn our painful stories into power. And that legacy continues today. So I think turning pain into power is being able to see the opportunities in all of our situations, regardless of how they make us feel. Not being entirely navigated by our feelings, but knowing how to put those feelings into a certain place so that now we can, get down to business. And as an entrepreneur, becoming an entrepreneur was something I never thought I'd do. Honestly, my dad was an entrepreneur, and I was always like, I don't want to work like he does. I saw the ebbs and flows and the pains that he went through when he did have clients or he didn't. I was like, ooh, that looks like a struggle. Like going to a plantation job just sounds so much easier. and
Yeah.
and then you turn 40 and you realize, yeah, no, I'm not cut out for that either. Let me go back to this entrepreneurship thing that Daddy was talking about. But I think that that is the epitome of turning pain into power, is figuring out how you can turn what you've learned in certain situations into something profitable and amazing and uplifting in your next situation, because God doesn't put us through anything by accident. And those of
Yeah.
us who are of faith, I'm a deep woman of faith. I don't necessarily, pontificate about it as much, but I think that our faith walk speaks to our ability to turn pain into power by having faith that, you know what, I'm going to figure out a way to turn this mess into a message, this test into a testimony, and I'm going to come out on top because that's who I am and that's how God made me. That mindset alone will enable us to always be able to turn pain into power and not relish in our sorrows, but spend more time celebrating our successes and enjoying the little things in life. So that's my personal take on it.
I love it. I love that. And it's so funny. I got to go back to what you said about entrepreneurship. Listen, I preach it every day, right? But it is not easy, and it's not for the faint of heart. I've been doing it for 28 years, 26 full time. And so it's not for the faint of heart. Let me just say that. But what I realized right now where we are today, and I'm talking about today, because not even 5 years ago, it was like, oh, we could start a business. It's almost a necessity right now. Like,
Yes.
if you look around, it is almost a necessity to become an entrepreneur. And I know everybody's not cut out for it because it is tough. And I'm not saying that to deter people. I'm just letting you know that it is tough. But it's almost a necessity right now because we are living in such uncertain times. And for me, I feel like it starts with the family. I laid in the bed Sunday morning. For some reason, Sunday is my clarity day. It's the weirdest thing, like things just come to me on Saturday. I mean on Sunday, and they are just so clear. And I was like, we need to have a family. a family unification platform, right? Just for entrepreneurs. And it's built on just family. So I started to create that. And I'm a big AI buff, Dr. Shelley. I'm listen, I know people talking about it's evil, it's the devil, it's all these
We
things.
need to
I
connect.
believe right. But I believe that it is the great equalizer for a lot of us if we just
Yes.
stop and pay attention. And so let's talk about, family leadership because it's going to take, and I'm going to tell you this. Let me tell you my little quick little story. So I'm the techie in my family. I'm that person. I'm the entrepreneur in the family. I'm the one with all the ideas. Everybody has their own thing. My brother is, and my nephews are football all day, every day, twice on Sunday. That's who they are. My daughter is an IT engineer, but she's not an entrepreneurial kind of IT engineer, right? My husband works in pharmaceutical manufacturing, but I'm the person that take the thing and turn it into something. And so I was sitting home and I was like, okay, I'm gonna build something for my granddaughter. She's 6. And so when I showed it to my daughter, she's like, oh my God, that's amazing. So it's a learning platform based on just her, right? Now my daughter's like, so my granddaughter called me this morning. She said, are you finished my thing yet? And I said, not yet. Gia got to make the voices sound right because it has talking on here. So I did that one. Then I did one called Turf Dreams, based on nothing but football, right? And it's for parents, coaches, and the players to collaborate inside this platform. But it has all these things built in, something for your grades and the testing and the NIL. Everything is built into this platform. Then I created something for my husband because he was like, "Look, I'm getting tired of making this long drive." So I created something for him called Franklin Kearney Compression Academy, right? Because he works in pharmaceutical manufacturing. He said compression is one of the talents that they need. They can't always find it. It's tough. So we set up a training school for that. I've done all this for my family, right? I was like, so I'm like the family AI engineer here for my family. This could change the trajectory of my family. We need
Yes.
to focus on family.
That
We need to
part.
focus on how to help them get started. So let's talk about your 5 pillars of family leadership and what should we be doing as leaders because you're a leader, I consider myself a leader. What should
Yes.
we be doing to help families come together and make things happen for their families?
So, believe it or not, it is actually quite simple. And what we real so here's the thing, and I love your stories. Oh my gosh, that the idea of being the AI person for your family and making their lives
Yes.
easier by seeing what's happening and then being able to create some kind of a digital or a technological solution to support them. That's absolutely amazing. And it's exactly in line with what I see, quite frankly, even though it's not as pretty, it being done as pretty, it's kind of where I see the country going right now, especially with the way that the tax breaks and such are being orchestrated. People are being rewarded for having businesses, and yes, there is
Mhm.
definitely a support, definitely a support for more people that have more money and are wealthy. I'm not denying that that's happening, but again, remember, turning pain into power means that we're not going to sit here and sulk and moan and groan about things that we may or may not be able to control. There are people in the
That's right.
political sector. I applaud them. I support them. I'm not trying to do what they do. Let them go ahead and figure out the politics. I'm going to figure out how everything is going to live and survive amidst what we have going on right now. And so I love what you've just said around how you're doing that. And it fits right in alignment with what we created in our 5 pillars of courageous family leadership. So, what I did with a few of my colleagues during COVID, we all were sent home. And so we all started talking about things in our families. We're like, how there was one day where we all said, well, what if we ran our families like we did businesses? You have 4 CEOs who are now all at
Right.
home, and we're seeing some of the same issues that we fix in offices that now I am
That's right.
brought in to address in corporations. And I'm seeing the same lack of structures. I'm seeing lack of systems and processes. I'm seeing lack
Yep.
of culture and being able to handle conflict. We don't have protocols and mechanisms to handle conflict. We don't have collaborative structures for how we make decisions. All of these things that we do in the workplace. And I got a chance to look at all my kids and my husband at home going, wait a minute. We need structure. So what the 5 pillars of courageous family leadership do is provide structure. I don't tell people how to run their households. I'm very clear. That is not my job. That is not what I want to get into. But I will help you figure out what are the areas of family leadership that you need to focus on and how to notice at least when you are out of balance, because we start off the day, believe it or not, out of balance. Even when you consider how much time we are spending working compared to the time we are spending at home with our children and our families, who we say are the priority. Is it okay if I present one slide for you so you can see it? Is that
Absolutely.
possible?
Absolutely.
I just want to show
Yeah.
this one slide. Um,
Okay. I
my
think you got to hit
computer.
your present button and then I have to approve it.
Okay, I have it. Let's see. Image, slides, video. Oh, here it is. Just share screen. There we go. I'm going to pick. There we go.
Hmm.
Are you able to see that? Perfect. So these are the
Yep.
5 pillars of creative family leadership. And so what we created were basically the 5 areas that families need to support. And this was designed, remember, I'm an educator by trade. It was originally designed to help people put into perspective exactly what is most important and what is most critical for educators to focus on and what families should be focused on. And the truth of the matter is, we have relinquished way too much of our power to these schools, and I am recommending that families do not do that. The superintendent is saying, do not allow these schools to raise your kids. That is not what they're intended to do. And so there is one area that our schools have any kind of say or input in, and that is the professional career leadership. Their main job is to teach your children the basic skills, the basic ABCs and 1, 2, 3s to for 12 years to be able to choose what career they would like to go into. But again, that is the only area. There are 4 other areas that we say are the sole responsibility of the family and that schools are built to support, but not to take the lead. The first is in personal leadership, who you are as a person, what your spiritual beliefs are, what your identity is, how you're cultivating and developing that identity, who your child and you are as people is all up to you to support and lead. And the school can definitely supplement and support that leadership, but that has to originate at home, and feeling loved and feeling welcomed, feeling like you can be your authentic self. That's personal leadership, and that has to be grown and cultivated throughout the lifetime, as does relational leadership. That's how we relate to one another. So in this bucket goes, how do we handle conflict? How do we handle generational communications? Meaning that there's certain ways you need to speak to the elders, certain ways that you need to speak and help conduct yourselves when you're amongst, the aunties and the uncle generation. Then you have certain ways that you may speak and collaborate when you're around your friends, and that's possibly different from how you speak and collaborate when you are in the workplace or in a professional setting of some sort. And so understanding that situational appropriateness, understanding how to relate to people, and yes, understanding how to fight. There are rules to how we have conflict. All of that
Yeah.
falls into relational leadership. And then the other 2 are home and financial. And while home leadership is kind of self explanatory because that's how you turn a house into a home, but it needs to be taught. It needs to be cultivated. You don't believe me? Take a look at any kind of freshman dorm at any university. It's the nastiest place on the planet because the kids get out the house, they go in, it's like, you forget that you weren't supposed to do this, right? And so we need to teach them how to do things like laundry, but also to know when to change the air filters in a home. And, the pilot light on a water heater does not get blown out. Things like that are basics to running a home. And then the last one is financial leadership, because let me tell you something. For over 50 years, the education system has had research that has shown us and proven to us that the way to close the wealth gap in this country is to teach financial literacy. Guess what we do not and have not taught? So let me tell you something, folks. It is not by accident that you don't know about budget, spending, investing, and saving. It is not by accident that you're not aware of all the different tax mechanisms that you get when you become an entrepreneur or an LLC versus an S Corp and all of these other structures that you need to understand. It is not by accident that the stock market ticker tape sometimes looks like, some kind of, Chinese arithmetic, if you will. It is because there is a very huge gap in the knowledge of financial literacy, and it is on purpose. So we have to take control. And so these five pillars are what I speak to as containers, and that we have to be balanced in these five, meaning you can't put 80% of your effort into your job and think that that little piece of 20% you're putting in these other areas is enough to balance it out and also to make sure that your family is thriving. You have to put equitable, not equal, attention into each of these depending on what you've decided to build. And hopefully, well, let me just ask, does this make sense to you as you're hearing it? And what does this make you think about in far as as an entrepreneur? I love talking to entrepreneurs. And
Let me tell you something. The first thing I thought about was when you were talking about the personal side of it, right? Because the first thing that popped into my mind was where our poverty level is right now, what the educational level is. And when you think about the United States and where we are, there are a lot of people who don't have it. It should start at home, but they don't have the necessary skills to even teach it in the home. So my first thought was, well, how do you get to the people who lead the leaders of the home, the head of the household? How do you get to those people and help them get to that point so they can now take that and lead the children? Because I live in Georgia. I was born in Georgia. I was raised in Jersey. I grew up in Newark. And my mom was the person who said, we're going to keep going till we get to that next level. So she moved us from Newark to Irvington to East Orange to West Orange. And by the time I left New Jersey, I had a house in Maplewood, which is considered the suburbs, right? But she did that. They called us gypsies because in her mind, I'm taking them from Albany, Georgia. I'm taking them to the next level, to the next level, to the next. And she did that until she got us to West Orange. We were grown. And then we was like, okay, then we're gonna go our own separate ways. And my brother moved to Union and I bought a house. He bought a house in Union and I bought a house in Maplewood. But she did that by herself. And she didn't graduate high school. She came from, she had seven siblings, and her mother was, I don't even know what grade. I don't even know if my grandmother finished high school because we've never had that conversation.
probably
So my
not.
mom didn't come from like an educated background kind of thing. She came from hard work and grit, right? And she came from
Whew.
fight. She had six brothers, so she knew how to fight. And so when I think about those things, I know a lot of that is not being was never taught in the homes. And so
It
the
was.
parents and the head of the households, if they don't know that and they're not around people to help teach that, how do we get that in the households? Because
Well,
right now their mindset is I gotta go work at, and I'm no shade to IHOP or Waffle House or whatever, no shade to you, because that's what you gotta do. But that's where their mindset is. And they're worried about money. And so trying to tell them, hey, we want you to build an economic financial plan making 7.15 an hour when the cost of a house down here has gone. I moved back to Georgia in 2013. The first house I moved in was $190,000. That same house right now is $400,000. So when you look at that, like how things have shifted, how do we get them to, how do we get to those people? Because people like you and I, like, I don't know about, well, let me say this. I'm talking to financial planners. I have a financial advisor license, all of these things. I'm taking stock options classes because I'm trying to secure my family. But how do we get to the person who says, I don't know what a stock is? I don't make enough money to invest a dime. Nobody taught me, how to clean a house. So I'm living in squalor. How do we get to those people?
I think that is where the schools can help. I think that's where our churches and communities can help. I think that that's where we go to the places where we are. And what this does is it provides us a common language to talk about these different aspects from an asset-based perspective. I didn't know about all this either. It wasn't explained to me in this way. I remember my days working at Denny's and, trying to make it, being a single mom and trying to make ends meet and all of that. But we cannot, because we turn pain into power, because it's part of our DNA. Your mother is the epitome of who I would love to be able to share this with, because she may not have known what to do, but she knew she needed to do something. She knew
That's
she
right.
needed to do something different. And she was willing to put herself out there to say, you know what? I know there's got to be some help out there. I know there's got to be somebody. I'm
Yeah.
going to, eat that humble pie that I need to take the help that I need, but I also need to have that grit to, push through and work and do what I have to do to take care of my family. And yes, that means you might have to get out of your comfort zone, meaning you might become more gypsy like and moving around and, going where
Yeah.
the opportunities are. I mean, so many people that are saying, I want something different, but I don't want to go anywhere else. It's like, well, why not? There is a whole world out here. And sometimes what this does is it focuses the mindset on what is most critical and most important, and it gives us language to talk about it. And when your mindset shifts, your behind does things different. And so we have to
Right.
free our minds first. And I think one of the biggest things is talking to our children and the adults about these five pillars so that they know that this exists as a mechanism for leading your life. But also, as you're looking at these, you can go, oh, well, personal leadership. I don't need more degrees than a thermometer to be kind to people and to help people be who they are.
Right.
I don't need to
Yeah.
have all these fancy degrees to understand how we need to relate to folks. And, sometimes I mean, if some of us are raised in situations where knuckle up was the way that we handle things, and then we have to
Right.
recognize that there are also spaces and places where that is not the mechanism where we can handle
Yeah.
conflict. Because let me tell you something, honey, I've learned over the years I can pencil whip you much faster and much better than my hands could ever do, right?
Yeah.
But that's a different understanding. It's a different type of communicating in conflict. And the financial piece is none of us know all the answers. You just said now, I'm taking classes at my age to still learn these
Right.
things. YouTube
Right.
University is a real and free thing. Right. And so there are a
Yeah.
lot of places and spaces, but I think the first thing is to get into the places and spaces where we already are. We're already at the church house. We're already in the school system. We're
Yeah.
already in those at those places, spaces where we come together as a community and start developing language around this to say, hey, how's your personal going? This is what I've been working on. How can we help each other? And getting to a place in our communities where we can talk about this, where talking about money is not taboo. And I think that's one of the things in our culture that is really killing us, especially as Black folks. And my family's from the South as well, and maybe in California, but honey, I am Mobile, Alabama, and Macon, Georgia bred, right? So
Okay.
let's be very clear about, my greens
Yeah.
are very, very seasoned. Let me just say,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but there were things that we didn't talk about, and money was one of them. It was almost like it was taboo. I'm saying we've got to throw that value out the window when we bring it up. And I don't care if you got 2 pennies or 20 pennies. We've got to talk about in our families, what are we learning? What are we growing about? And I got to give a plug to Greenlight right now because that's really helping me and my family be able to have all of my kids leading that effort of financial leadership. They know more right now than I do, but they also know spending, saving, and like the basics of spending, saving, investing. And if you don't have the money, you can't buy it. Now, can you? Right?
That's right.
Or,
That's
or
right.
you have to move up to get that thing you want to get. And it's the same lessons that, grandmama and everybody was teaching us, but just in a more formal and structured way. So I think developing language is probably our first step, and then an understanding around what these mean. And that could really help our families start acting and being the first and only business that matters.
Yeah. I think what you said is so key too. Churches see more people probably than anybody, because people are in church 5 days a week most of the time. They're in church. And I feel like our leadership has to start talking about these things in church, because if people are coming to church and they're coming there because they're looking for a miracle, let's keep it real. They're coming there because they're looking for community and they're looking for a miracle. That's what they're coming there for. And we have to start there. I was looking at an article and people were talking about um their SNAP benefits being taken away, and that's the food stamp system.
Mhm.
And people are sad right now because they're scared. Like, how am I going to feed my family? How am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to do these things? And so we have to start where we are and reach out to those. I am doing a series. I'm gonna do a series over the summer at libraries, teaching kids. And I say libraries because I had a book signing. We had like a community book signing at the library back in October, And it was so many kids that came through there. It was a Saturday. I'm like, wow, I didn't know this many kids visited the library. But what I said I
Wow.
was gonna do was I was gonna do a workshop for parents and kids so they can understand how to create with AI. Because I spent the weekend with my granddaughter about 2 weeks ago. She spent the night with me because I'm building this platform for her, right? And we made all these songs with her name in it. And she thought that was fascinating. And I said to my daughter, we ate dinner, and when we got finished, we might have finished probably around 9 o'clock. And I said to her, I said, "Hey, you want your tablet?" She was like, "No, Gia." All she wanted to do was go to bed. She was exhausted, but she was so ingrained in what we were doing. Till every time we made a song, she had to make a dance for the song. And I gave her the opportunity to pick the song she liked. I said, "Do you?" Because it outputs two songs. She was
Yes.
so focused on that thing. I didn't have to yell. I didn't have to say anything. She sat right by my side while we did that. And I said to myself, see, this is how they start. Now she called me this morning right before the show and said, "Hey, how you doing with my thing?" That's what she called my thing. I said, "Jay, working on it. Your thing has a lot of moving parts to it. So it's taking me a little bit longer, but I'm working on it." She's 6. And this is how it starts though. And I said, you know what? There may be somebody at home who don't know what I know. But if I go to the libraries and they put it out to all of the people that frequent the libraries and they can share it, then they can know that, hey, this month there's a woman that's going to be here and she's going to be teaching parents and kids how to make music with their kids' name in it, and then how to sell that music, because you can sell it once you make it. They can have a
What?
whole little CD of music, and they can go out. Dr. Shelley, right now we have to do what we got to do to help folks. And I
Yes.
recognize that this is my gift and you have your gift. You got
Yes.
the five pillars. I know what I know. We have to help because people are suffering and it's getting
Wait,
worse. And when people start to suffer, they become dangerous.
that part and that, but here's the thing. I think this is by design because we know that in
Mm,
our poorest communities, that when all you take away all these benefits, they're going to turn on each other, and that's going to
yep,
allow them to do what they want to do. Because remember what they're doing, folks, they are increasing the military and their presence and their ability
that's
to have
right.
weapons, and that will give them a justification for creating a police state here in this country. And who do you think
That's right.
that's going to come to first? The people that
That's
are,
right.
now rioting and looting and mistreating each other in our poorest communities. And so let's not pull the wool over our eyes and pretend like we don't see what's happening. We have to be able, part of turning pain into power is recognizing the system and what it's doing and not sugarcoating or honeycoating this by telling ourselves these Disney like narratives of, my country tis of thee sweet. No, 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 boo boo. That's not what's happening right now. We're not in that state. We are in a state of survival, and that's going to require us to work together. That's going to require us to be smarter about these things. And that's going to require
Yep,
us to share our gifts with those who may not know what we can foresee because we have been blessed with, this ability to and the degrees and whatever else it is to see what's
yeah,
happening. So things like the five pillars, things like being able to create entertainment and music, I often say makes it stick because as an educator, I mean, literally, I was a math teacher for many years. And I mean, when I would teach sixth grade math and we had to do order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract, here's your pen. My kids still remember that. And they're 30 and they're almost 40 years old now, my former sixth graders. And if they hear me, remember the PEMDAS song? Remember this song? So how can
yeah,
we turn some of these learnings that are not exactly happening for our kids, and especially our Black kids in our poorest regions, our poor kids? Because what I got to say this out loud, that we're not really talking about the larger issue that's happening in this country around literacy and poverty. Do you know that
yeah,
the poor white students and our Black students run neck and neck in their literacy levels? And literacy is the
right.
number one predictor of success in any country. When I was
Yeah,
superintendent in Michigan, it was one thing that I would point out that Michigan is literally the worst place in America to learn to read if you are Black, the second worst place to learn to read if you are white. Georgia's not far behind. And so when we look at these things, we have to realize that we've got to take control of that, and we can. It is not rocket science to teach someone to read. It is not rocket
yeah,
science to be able to teach people how to turn a house into a home. My great grandmother used to say, "I don't care how poor we are. we are not going to have a dirty house. I don't care
Yeah.
how well, we how many meals we may miss. We are not going to live in filth, and everybody's going to be all right. We're going to have enough. And it's shifting that mindset about it. I know we're worried.
Yeah.
I'm worried too, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It's like we're
Yeah.
all stacking our chips and putting them aside, but I also recognize there are people that don't have that luxury. And so we've got to
Yeah.
shift our mindsets in those spaces and be able to focus differently and take advantage of the gifts that our community has by sharing them with one another. I love that concept.
Yeah. And I think too, I think people have to also start to realize when they make these laws and these rules and regulations, they're not black folk. They're not made just for us. They're made
No,
for poor people.
that part.
Let me say
And
that
we
again because somebody
mm,
missed it. These
mm,
laws are made for poor and struggling people
yes,
that has no color on them. I know y'all think they do. A lot of people think they have color. They have no color. They have a
no.
class.
And
There's
that
a
was what
class attached to them.
it is. And see, here's the thing that many people missed in the civil rights movement. When the civil rights movement was about to turn, when Cesar Chavez and our and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and some of our Jewish brothers and sisters were talking about coming together, that's when that mess got shut down. I need y'all to understand the assassinations were not, these happenstance things. It wasn't just, oh, let's get rid of the black people, the black leaders. It was very clearly, let's send a message that if they decide that they're going to turn this into a rich and poor thing, they knew at the time that that would bring the poor white folks into alignment with everybody. And that was going to be a big problem. So they have to keep this about race as opposed to about class, because that keeps us separated and divided. But if we start to see this as a class issue, which is what we were on the brink of in the 60s when they took our leaders from us, now here we are 40 years later, and still we are seeing this is a huge class issue. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, some of our folks that are still seeing it as a race issue have not figured out that they are the target. And so
That's
when
right.
that
Say
happens,
that
and
part
a lot
again. Say that
they
part again. That say that
our
part.
people have not figured out, especially some of our vanilla brethren that are right alongside us, they have not figured out yet that they are the target of this, because race has been used to try to unify and certain people and divide others out. And so seeing this as a woke agenda, and all of these things that have these racialized undertones, we see it very clearly, and it puts
Yeah.
people into a place where they're like, yeah, we don't want to do things for people that are immigrants. We don't want to do things for people that are black. We don't want to do, wait a minute, those people are me. Right.
Yeah.
And when they figure that out, there is going to be a rage. It's going to make January 6th look like a picnic. There is going to be a rage amongst our vanilla brethren who are going to realize this. And this is when, quite frankly, we're all going to be in a dangerous situation, because
That's
this is
right.
going to be a moment where folks are going to, people don't like being made fun of. They don't like being made to feel foolish. They don't like to be taken
Yeah.
advantage of. And so it's going to become a very dangerous situation. And unfortunately, in those situations, historically, Black people in particular have become the recipients and the targets of violence when this has nothing to do with us. Unfortunately, it doesn't. This
Nope.
is a
Nope.
wealth and poor issue where they have manipulated the poor people to believe that they have their best interest at heart. And now they're seeing, with the stripping of their social security, with the stripping of these benefits, that and when you look at the data, when you look at the data, the numbers, the benefits overwhelmingly support poor white communities than they do the Black communities. We think it's all us.
That's
It is
right.
not. Men lie, women lie, numbers
Right.
don't lie. Just like the DEI movement, it overwhelmingly helped white women more than it did any other subgroup. Do you know where we come in on the list of people that DEI helped? No higher than seventh. Seventh, y'all. We're
Wow.
seventh. And so when we look at these issues and we try to and some people try to make it a black white issue, it is not. It is a rich poor issue. It is a power not having power. It's a
That
dominant
part.
non-dominant group issue, and talking about things makes some people uncomfortable, and they misconstrue that as being unsafe. And when people
Yes.
misconstrue lack of comfort, because it's uncomfortable to talk about it, it's unsafe to live it. And so I'd rather
Yes.
us be uncomfortable and have the conversations before we get to a place where we are unsafe. And now everybody's talking about how much ammo and ammunition they all have, which is all, you talk about all bad. That's going to definitely be a situation that's all bad.
Let me tell you something. When during the pandemic, I was at so it was George Floyd, then it was the pandemic, back to back, right? When
Mhm.
I tell you, I know, and I lost my mother to COVID, so I know for a fact that I had post traumatic stress. I know that. I went out. My husband bought a gun. My daughter bought a gun. I bought a gun. Everybody has a gun because it was like,
Everybody.
what is about to happen? Now I feel like just like what you said. Now I got to go get more ammunition. I got to go make sure everything. My husband, I said to my husband, I said, look, we don't know what's gonna happen. We have a freezer in the garage. Full, it's just the two of us and my uncle. There's a freezer in my garage full of food. I said to him, we need to get some solar power energy generators. They think I'm crazy, but for me, we don't know what's gonna happen. And I be
Mm-mm.
trying not to sound like the Prince of Doom, but I'm looking
Right?
at it from the outside like this ain't right,
This
you know.
something ain't
But
right. Mm-mm.
some
I'm
ain't
doing the
right.
same thing
And
with a
so and
garden. I have a garden. I'll have a green thumb the first. Honey, I'm growing lettuce, tomatoes,
say
cucumbers, greens. I'm like, I want to make sure I don't know what's going to happen. I really
I know.
don't. And
But
that's the
I don't have
scary
a
part.
green thumb either, Dr. Shelley. My husband had cleared out a whole path in the backyard. We got all this stuff. And it's I said to him, so what happens when we want to put the grass back? He's like, we're not gonna put the grass back. It's a whole patch in my backyard that's cut out where the garden is. It's the craziest thing. And that's why I said at the beginning of the show, I feel like we're living in the matrix. But I recognize that if we don't work together, a lot of people are gonna suffer. And I'm a president of a chamber, and I reached out to a bunch, I think about 500 other chamber presidents. Like, look, we need to come together because we got to help our communities. So I created this tool called the AI Workforce Engine, right? And it was intended to help them help their people. It's not for the regular general population. It's for presidents of economic developments and managers and chambers. I created because I know what I'm doing for my chamber, the women in my chamber. I know what I'm doing, and I was like, I'm only one person in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Can't reach everybody, but I can reach the leaders who reach the people. So I created this platform called the AI Workforce Engine, and I was like, this is what you guys can use to find out what you need to do, what jobs are going to be lost, what jobs are going to be coming. How can you recognize them? Who needs to be reskilled? How can you I created that whole thing, and I put it out. And when I tell you, people are like, they won't answer back, and I was like, it's the craziest thing. I'm like, why would you answer me back so you can find out how to use this for your community? Do you not understand that, especially in rural communities, and we have a lot of them in Georgia, the
Yes.
metro Atlanta area where I live? Okay, but we have 159 counties in Georgia. There are about 15 to 20 right here in the metro. What about the other 130?
That part. Well, and I'll tell you, my house we have property out in Alabama, and it's right outside of Tuskegee. Do you know we just got internet last summer? I'm
What?
telling you. I, so we got it as like this cabin in the woods spot where we have some acreage. They were just now putting in the lines for internet because we could barely get cell service. And so this is where America's got to wake up. We got that there are a lot of people that are not as connected. So when we're talking about AI and they're talking about just getting internet, you have a serious discrepancy. I'm telling you, like to get internet at the house.
I didn't even know that, Dr. Shelley. I didn't know that there were places in the United States that do not have the internet.
Oh yeah, there's still, especially in those rural places in the South. So the South is the place where you have the least, and so you can imagine how difficult it is to get these advanced messages out to people and to reframe their mindsets about what reality is. When the only thing you have to tell you what's going on is the TV, God help you, and church or your community around you. And so there are still a lot of rural communities that operate in this way, which is why messages that we now understand have been debunked, they're still thinking like, what do you mean? What do you like? It's amazing. I'm telling you, it's absolutely boggles my mind, especially when I go down like to the Piggly Wiggly or, which is still in that area. And, folks
Wow.
talk about, oh, we just
I
got
haven't
on
seen a
the
Piggly
internet.
Wiggly since I was like 8.
It still exists.
Wow.
There are still places, right? And so we think that
Wow.
these people blast from the past, that they're like, oh, there couldn't possibly be anyone that, couldn't access my live stream, that maybe is only about 50 miles from me. And I'm telling you, yes. Because like even in Metro Atlanta, you have Lawrenceville, Gwinnett County. Gwinnett County is but you get out there by Henry County and go, keep going out and out and out. And some of those folks, they still have not gotten the infrastructure, the wiring for internet. And the only reason I knew about it was because they had to go through my property, which meant they had to come and have a conversation with me. And we were like,
Wow.
so that's why we can't get internet? Like, because we have been trying and have different boxes, and it was like this much, just enough like of internet just to make sure that like you could call the police if something happens, right? But we didn't have anything
Wow.
great. But yeah, there are still folks that do not have access to the resources, which means that they don't have access to a diversity of information. And so if you
True.
don't have an access to a diversity of information and everything that's being told to you is controlled or goes through a certain filter, a certain perspective, then you think that's
Mm.
the way the world works. And then you step out of it. And this is where I say you're going to have a lot of our vanilla brethren or rural brethren very angry because they do not like being, being made fun of, essentially being used as pawns. And as
Yeah.
they're coming out and realizing what's happening in the world, that's part of what folks are realizing, that, oh my gosh, we were used. You saw a lot of our Latino brethren who decided to go in the more conservative route that didn't realize, oh my gosh, we're being used. Even though the
Yeah.
black woman was trying to tell them, just saying. But,
Yeah.
and so this is a very real thing. And so when you think about families trying to survive and thrive through this, when you think about families that have certain visions, I did a lot of work in the Midwest, and there were several districts that I went to where literally I increased the Black population by 100%. There were people that had said, I've
Wow.
never seen, this was the words, I've never talked to one of y'all up close. When he was talking about talking to a Black person. So I need us to
What?
realize when you're talking about this is part of what made me want to really focus on family leadership, because part of that personal and relational leadership is intentionally designed to say you have to get out of your comfort zone and realize what the world is like for people who don't look like you, who don't think like you, so that you have a varied perspective and can help your kids interact with people differently.
You
And
know, you want
it's
to know something interesting? Though I don't mean to cut you off, but you said that,
no,
and
no.
I got to tell you. So I was born in Georgia. I was born in Albany, and then my mom moved us to Newark when I was 12. But when I came back, I think I was at either the hairdresser or the doctor. I was somewhere, and someone was asking me, where was I from, and I was like, oh, I was born here in Albany, but I was raised in Jersey. And they was like, oh yeah, don't ever go to Rome, Georgia. And I was like, why? It's like, don't ever go to Rome. I want to say it was a sundown town or something. I'm like, I didn't
Yeah.
even know what that was.
What
And it was like, well, you can't be in those towns past
the
sundown.
dark. No.
What? So one of my associates, they have a beautiful house in Cummings, which is Forsyth County, right? And I've been to Cummings. I did not know Forsyth was considered a sundown place, right? So we were in a meeting, and she's Lebanese, but she looks white, but she's Lebanese. So she was in a meeting. It was me, her, and a Dell executive. It was hilarious. And so she's like, I'm gonna invite you to my house. And he was like, we're not coming to your house. And she goes, why? I was like, girl, you live in Forsyth County. Black folks ain't welcome up there. She said, that's not true. I said, that's the word on the street. She never heard of that. But he heard of it. And he didn't even live in Georgia. He knew of Georgia. He's like, oh yeah, we're not coming up to Forsyth. But I remember being at a meeting with the district attorney, and there was a detective in the room, and she said they were working a case in Forsyth County, and she was undercover. So she asked the gentleman, "I need to park in front of your house because I'm undercover," and he said, "Okay, white man, older white man," she said, and she said he looked at her, and he said, "Okay." So the next day when she went back, he told her, "You're not gonna be able to park there." And she said, "Why?" He said, because my family are Klansmen, and they have come to tell me that you can't park there. You're gonna be in danger. He said, I don't agree with them, but I'm just letting you know you're in danger. But you know what he said to her? Can I touch your face? And she was like, he was like, I never, never seen a black person. I've never touched a black person. And she said, sure. She let him touch her face and she gave him a hug. I was like, this is 2025. That sounds nuts to me, but I guess it
It
exists.
is actual reality. So when we look at this country and we see what's happening and we're like all in shock and awe and appalled, it's because, quite frankly, as Black folks, we've been subjugated to certain areas. So we believe in those areas. Everybody understands, exactly what it is to be Black in America. Everybody understands what our plight is. Everybody understands that, we're different, and, that there's a lot of diversity within our community. And the truth of the matter is that is not true. That is not true.
Yeah.
That is our reality and our perception. But there are, like, the fact that this man was able to get into the office and do these things, there are people who really do believe that the racialized differences amongst us matter, and that we need to, subjugate people, and people have certain places. Again, why we have to focus on our own homes and our own family leadership, so that, because I tell you one thing, my kids know what a sundown town is. They know what
Yeah.
that means. They understand what they are and aren't supposed to do in certain situations. Doesn't mean I agree with the way the world works, but I'm definitely teaching them the way the
Yeah.
world works. When we talk about that personal and relational leadership pieces, one of the things that's real, that I have a real struggle with, is this idea of ethnic studies, or people teaching ethnic history in school. Because how you going to teach something you don't know? First of all, because
Right.
70% of
Mm-hmm.
our workforce is white women. They don't know nothing from nothing about black history or Black culture. They know what they heard, and some might be farther along than others, but that is
Yeah.
not something that they are trained, or, quite frankly, where you want them to speak to. But imagine if we were to create these communities, that we meet at libraries, we meet at the church house, on wherever, and start to teach our beautiful history. I know and love my history of being of African descent in this country, because my relatives tell it to me. Because I hear
That's
the stories of, Grandma Pearl with her beautiful gray hair that went all the way down her back,
yep.
and her
That's right.
stuff. She was a little bitty woman, but you didn't
Yes.
cross. She was a property owner, and she didn't allow people on her property, and you didn't
Yep.
cross that line. You want to talk to her, you could talk from the other side of the fence. She's got that Georgia mindset, where she didn't
That's
play
right.
any of that. But I know why she did that. I know where she worked. I know all these
Yeah.
things, because they came through my family, and we've lost some of that village concept in our community. And hopefully we are realizing in this time that we need to take that back. And so I would love to connect. I don't know why folks in the other chambers wouldn't have wanted to connect around this. Maybe it hasn't hit them hard enough yet to where they realize that they're being targeted. It takes a minute for some folks. Everybody doesn't realize it. But I just really think that we've got to be able to refocus ourselves on what is actually happening in our own households. And as we do that, others will do the same. And then we can
Yeah.
now have common conversations around, like, how do you raise your kids with personal leadership? What are you working on? How is that different from how I have to teach my kids personal leadership? And how is that different if my child is of the LGBTQ plus community and they're struggling with their sexual identity? What does that mean
Yeah.
when, there all these different things that happen in our households?
Mhm.
We have to take our homes back. We cannot give them up to the schools, the government, or anyone else. And so I'm a firm believer, and I'm going to travel the world telling everybody, take back your home, take back your children,
Yeah.
take back your household, take back control. Don't give it up to anyone, including the schools and the government. And let's work on this together as a community.
That's so important. Listen, we have to work on this together as a community, but we have to start at home. And that's for me. When I had that epiphany, and when I knew I was going to interview you, I knew I was going to talk about pain and pleasure. I had no idea we were going to talk about family leadership until I was like, this is our topic. Like, we have to talk about this because this is where we are, and people have to start thinking, what about my family? Forget all the noise outside. Forget all. It's a lot of noise right now, and it's everywhere. I mean, it's a lot of noise, and it's a lot of distractions, and people don't understand that a lot of what they're seeing is meant to distract them, so they can not focus on what should be important to them. You got to stop. You got to stop it, because you're going to get left behind, and we're trying to tell you. And sometimes passionate people come across as, oh my God, they're desperate. No, we're trying to help. But here's the
That's it.
thing: if you don't want our help, we're gonna help our families. I'm just keeping it real right now. And we have been trying to help for a very long time, and people just kind of ignore that and like, oh, it doesn't affect me. It's not what I need. It's not my family. I don't need. Okay,
Okay.
I'm going by me a solar generator, and me and Dr. Shelley have gardens, and we're trying to tell y'all to pay attention and forget the noise. Look at your family dynamics right now. Where are you? I
Mm,
have a friend and she's teaching all of us how to trade options. So I met her in 2018. I was speaking at a conference in Huntsville, and her son was speaking at a conference in Huntsville with me on the same stage, right? And he was 11. He was 11 years old. And when he spoke after me, and so he speaks after me, he starts talking about stock options. And I'm looking at him like, this kid know how to trade stock options. He was making so much money, Dr. Shelley, at 11. And she was in the military, and she was stationed in Germany, but she flew him to Huntsville so he could speak at this conference. But she had to fly back to Germany. But he had to stay in Atlanta to do a TED talk after the conference. And I said to her, now I didn't know her from a can of paint. I said, listen, do you want me to go to the TED talk with him? She said, would you please? So I go to the TED talk and watch this kid take the stage and do a TED talk. And we've been friends ever since. But he is a 18-year-old retired multimillionaire. He retired when he was like 14 because he wanted to play football in high school. So he retired. He has 6 employees who all have 401ks, and he got rich trading options. So she's teaching us options, right? So it was two teenage boys that came in the room, and I said to them, y'all his friends? And they were like, yeah. I said, trade options. They said we didn't even know he traded options. He doesn't talk about any of that. He wanted to be a regular teenager in high school playing football, but he's not regular. But she taught him that when he was 9, while she was in the military as a single mother. And now he is a multimillionaire. And so now she's teaching us. And what she said to me, she said, Audrey, she said, I've been teaching families so they can go teach their families.
that part. That
And I was
part.
like, really? She's like, yeah, I've been teaching families. She said, we don't advertise it. We just teach people when they know what we do and they come to us and say, hey, we want to learn. We teach people so they can go teach their families. And I was like, look, teach me so I can go teach mine. And
That part.
it's a bunch of us that go in there Sundays at 2:30 to 4:30, and she teaches us so we can go back and teach. We have to do that right now. I know people are looking at this thing saying, well, how, why? Because if we don't do it, a lot of our families are gonna get left behind. That's just the
They,
bottom line.
well, sign me up. I got 2:30 to 4:30 open. Send me whatever it is, please. I would love to
Person.
learn.
We do it. We literally go to the co-working space on Sundays in person.
Oh
Everybody
my
bring their
gosh,
laptop.
sis.
Yeah. We go to the co-working space, bring our laptops. I think I got pictures and I'll share them with you. Go to the co-working space with our laptops and we sit there for 2 hours and she teaches stock options trading.
Oh
It's
my
but we
gosh.
have to do that. We have to do those type of things. So, I'm going to be doing things. You're going to be doing things. We have to stay in contact after the show
Yes.
because I love what you're doing. I love the 5 pillars. My space is AI over here. We all have our place. We all have our expertise, but whatever the case may be, we got to share it with our families. So, how let me
Absolutely.
pop this up. How can they contact you? Let me see here.
So we do courses and help families set goals and set priorities and really make your family your truly your first business. And we all say family first. We help you mean it. And so we provide courses, workshops, retreats, tours for families to really strengthen their ability to lead and create plans. You can reach me at www.familylegacy5.com, or you could just email me at dr.shelley, Shelley, at familylegacy5.com. And Just give me a call, send me an email. We can definitely do a discovery call, and I can give you some of the options of how you can access our courses. We've been able to change many lives, been able to change many mindsets, and it all starts by just saying, I want to put my family first, and we will help you do the rest.
Listen, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Someone put up this is the best. That's the best live stream they've seen on LinkedIn. And trust me, I appreciate you, Deborah, because I'm exhausted from the whole Planet of the Apes. I'm such a terrible. So as a chamber president, we have to do a lot of events, right? And I'm that person that events. I can if you tell me an idea, I can make it happen for you. An event, it stresses me out. So I've been tired for two. It was Wednesday. I've been tired for like the last day and a half. So I'm looking forward to just relaxing this weekend. But listen, reach out to Dr. Shelley. Dr. Shelley, I want to thank you so much for just coming on. I know it's early in California, so I appreciate that. Don't think I don't
No
appreciate that. I
problem. Thank
appreciate that
you.
for coming on and sharing with us. I feel so so empowered right now, and I know that the work you're doing, whatever I can do to help you spread the work, because we gotta stick together and we gotta help others. Even there are people who don't even know they need our help, but you need the help.
That part.
Um,
Mhm.
go to the website and check out what she's doing. Connect with her. Help your family. If you don't help anybody else, and that may sound a little selfish, but if you don't help anybody else, help your family.
Help
It
yourself.
There is something that you know and only you know that you can turn into a course, a training, something to help your family. I'm telling
Yep.
you, like I'm telling you. I sat down. I did a class with my sorority last. I had them on the track because there's thousands of them, and so I have a
Which
committee, and
sorority
I was
would
like,
that
look,
be?
it's not one of the divine nines because everybody asks me that. It's swing. I'm a swing, and we're not one of the divine nines. We came around in later on, like 1964.
Okay.
So but they do the same thing. When I look at it, because oh, it's not a divine. The people get like kind of bougie with that whole thing. But I'm like, listen, we all have the same mission: empowerment.
That part.
We all have the same mission, and give back. So I've been training some of my sisters on AI so they can go out there and help me train folks. And so one of them is an attorney, and she was saying that she wanted to do something. So first she said, I want to do something. I want to sell purses and all this stuff. And I was like, what problem does that solve? Because I'm a problem solver. And she said, well, that doesn't really solve a problem. She said, but you know what I'm passionate about? I'm passionate about, when people go to prison and they come out and they have no resources, they don't know what to do. I said, then that's what you got to create. So we sat there and we created it in an hour. And she was like, oh my God, like this is the power that we have at our fingertips. Now she's an attorney. She can take that and keep it moving. And she can go help the people that she's passionate about. So I've been doing those type of things, helping, getting small groups of people together, not charging what I normally charge. I'm like, okay. And someone asked me at the summit, she said, why are you charging such little? I said, well, you can go to my website and pay the regular price, or you can pay this price right here. So she went to the website and then she saw the price that was on the board at the summit. She goes, why? I said, because I just told you I'm trying to help folks. That's not gonna last for long, but I'm trying to help people,
That
because the
part.
more people I can help, they can go out and help people. So that problem is that those prices aren't gonna last. If you go to my website, it's a totally different price. If you go to my Facebook group, that's a different price too. But anyway, I want to thank you for the work you're doing, and I want to stay connected because I love what you say. I love your energy. I love everything about what your platform is. So I definitely want to stay connected. So
Same
thank you for that.
here. Same here. Thank you for having me. And I hope everybody in Gwinnett is having not only a good morning, but let's make it a great morning. And I
That's right.
hope you know that we do this because we love you. We want to see you
Yeah.
thrive. We want to see your families thrive. And we can only do this together. So I am so grateful to be here. Yes, we will stay connected. And I'm glad we had this time to share our gifts with the world. And by all means, give us a call. We're not, some figment that's so far to reach. Please give us a call. We want to help.
We'll do that. Well, listen, I know you about to plan for this big old family shebang bang. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. Don't eat too many ribs. Listen to me. Don't eat too many ribs, but have a wonderful time.
I will. Especially, I love my husband so much. He's such an extrovert, and he's like, he's so excited. I want to just like crawl in the bed all weekend under the covers and be, and be just there. He's like, no, we're not doing that. We're going out with people. So we're gonna people this
Yeah, I'm
week.
like him. My husband is an introvert, so I said to him already. So, where you taking me this weekend? And he was like,
All of his face dropped, like, he wasn't planning
drop.
on going nowhere.
He was like, I was like, you should take me to do something fun. Because that's me. You should take me to do something fun. He goes, thank you so much, Deborah. She said, we are awesome. Thank you. I'm going to pop the AI workforce engine up on the screen because I want people to go there. If you know of someone in economic development or a chamber president, anybody who's in the community is trying to help their community leadership, local government, I'm popping this up there so they can take a look at it and see how they can use it to help them help their communities. Because I honestly feel like if we don't do it as leaders, our community is going to get left behind. So I want to pop this up real quick before we shut it down. AIworkforceengine.com. Check it out. Tell somebody, go tell your local council person, the local commissioner, somebody, listen, we need to make sure that we are AI ready. We need to make sure that there are AI jobs for us. What happens when customer service disappears? Because it is going away very, very fast. That's one of the first industries that's going to be tore up because AI is automating everything.
But again, think about who that impacts. Who was doing all those customer
Absolutely.
service jobs? Who were the one? And so when we tell y'all this is a wealth, this is about rich and poor. This is not about black and white. We trying to told you. And so just keep watching, keep paying attention, and keep tuning in.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Shelley. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
All right, listen, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. I got to go because I'm exhausted and I have to go eat breakfast to get me some energy because I got a lot of work to still do. I want to thank Dr. Shelley once again. Make sure to go check her out. She's out in the California area. If you're in that area, check her out. Go set up a meeting with her. If you are an organization and you know your organization needs some structure and some courage to create this great leadership so they can take it home, go visit her. And if you are a leader, whether you are a chamber president, an economic development manager, if you are a city council person, check out the AI Workforce Engine. It's designed for you. I designed that for you because I'm one of you. I designed it for you to do the things that you need to do to help your community. I'm helping my community. I'm over here helping the women of Gwinnett County. I'm helping our other members in Gwinnett County, our constituents in Gwinnett County. I'm doing what I got to do. But I want you to do the same thing because I'm only one person and I'm sitting over here in the middle of Gwinnett. So I got to go. But thank you again for tuning in. I'll be back again. As a matter of fact, I got a whole series coming up called Built with AI, and I'm going to build something for 30 days. So make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be building AI tools one a day for 30 days. I haven't set a date yet, but I want to show you just how simple this is to actually do. So I got to go, but I'll be back again. So stay tuned. And until next time, make it a great day. Bye, everybody. I'm trying to say bye. Yeah, there you go.
You've been watching or listening to the Good Morning Gwinnett Show, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the show today and share it with your friends by going to www.goodmorninggwinnett.com.